Well, reaching you live from Lagos, Nigeria, economic capital of the country, looking at the Kenya election, Sulaiman. And of course, quite a number of things have been happening here in the station, looking at activities coming in from Kenya with our analysts and Kenyans who are out there looking at this particular election. By now, the votes have ended and collation of results are ongoing. It's one of the biggest elections ever on the continent at the moment. And we've been seeing there's going head-to-head between Raila Odinga and Deputy President William Ruto. Back-to-back, call it the triangle. Let's give you a bit of the triangle in a bit of politics here. Uhuru Kenyatta, who is the president, outgoing president, and William Ruto were charged to the International Criminal Court at The Hague in 2012 for crimes against humanity. At that point, they were united by circumstance. They became running mates under the Jubilee Party in that election, and guess what? They got close after that. Now, in 2007, more than 1,200 Kenyans were killed in post-election violence. The election was between incumbent at that time, Kibaki, and Raila Odinga. And a whole lot has been happening then. Ruto supported Odinga and Kenyatta supported Kibaki. Both men became president and deputy president 5 years after they had led one of the most bloody post-election violence in Kenya's history. Now, this, one can say, was the basis of the coming together in 2012. The ICC case made them more popular and largely sold them pity to Kenyans. Now, Odinga first contested in 1997, 25 years ago, but came third behind Daniel Arap Moi, who was the incumbent at that time, and Kibaki. In 1992, he had returned from Norway to join a party known as Ford, not the car, but Forum for the Restoration of Democracy. His father, Jaramogi Odinga, formed the party, and Odinga was Kenya's first vice president, while Jomo Kenyatta, Uhuru's father, was the first president. Now you're getting a bit of this now. Dig deep. Odinga later supported Moi and even joined his cabinet as minister in 2001. If you go back to 2002, Odinga expected Moi to handpick him as his anointed presidential candidate, but instead went for Uhuru Kenyatta against Kibaki. Now, Kibaki won that election. Odinga angrily left the party and went to form another party. In 2007, he contested against Kibaki, with Ruto supporting him. He lost to Kibaki, who had the backing of Kenyatta in that election. So in order for peace to reign, they had a power-sharing arrangement under which he became prime minister while Kibaki was president. Fast forward to 2013, Ruto had turned his opposition as he was deputy president to Uhuru Kenyatta. Odinga lost again. He cried foul and said it was rigged, but Kenyatta was declared president. In 2017, he was up against Kenyatta again and lost. The election was, however, annulled owing to irregularities. The Supreme Court of Kenya ordered re-election, but Odinga withdrew. He said it will end in rigging again. I believe this is where they struck an alliance to Ruto's disadvantage. Now, in 2018, Kenyatta started the BBI, Building Bridges Initiative, to bring himself and Odinga together. That was the beginning of his clash with Ruto, who is the deputy president. Now you can come to 2022. Ruto, who supported Odinga 15 years ago, had become his opponent. Kenyatta, who was his opponent, had become his friend. It's Odinga's fifth time in 25 years, and he's 77. Fortunately for him, majority of Kenyan registered voters are not youth, and he's got a popularity that dates back. He's known as the people's president and the favorite opposition. Well, I feel this election will go perhaps either way, looking at both of them. Some first in Kenya will come after the show. But again, I'd like to say welcome. We're digging deep into this. And of course, with me live in the studio is Vincent Otieno. He's Kenyan and a political analyst. He'll be looking at issues with me live here in the studios. And of course, in Nairobi, Kenya, we have Dr. Matsanga. Dr. Matsanga will be looking at the elections again and also talking more about the candidates in this election. I would like to welcome you both to the program. First, let's start with you, Vincent Otieno. If you've been looking at the election results, you've been going up and down just like a yo-yo. First, you see Odinga leading, and again, Ruto leading, back and forth. It's so closely, connected at the moment. And looking at what at the moment, it's 50.5% from Raila Odinga and 91% from William Ruto. What do you see happening ultimately?
Well, I think the technology has played a major role in this election as compared to 2017. Is that the time that it takes for the results to be out, doesn't take long for the results, to an extent that by even the media, they're having it difficult to keep up with the speed at which the Form 34A, which are used at the polling stations, are coming in. The rate at which they are getting the Form 34A are being sent to the independent IEBC is so it's very fast that they cannot cope up with the speed. So I think the improvement of technology by the IEBC has played a major role, and for that I give them a thumbs up.
Let's go to Nairobi and have a sense of how Dr. David Matsanga feels. You saw this coming. We've spoken about this election. Now is looking head-to-head for Ruto and Raila Odinga, who some have decided to call a veteran politician on the continent. What do you think is happening at the moment?
You are right. The result, I'm watching the result directly down here. It is 50.4 to 49.97.
Yeah.
So it is. And my prediction was very clear from morning with Otieno. I've told Otieno that this is too. If the voter turnout does not come to 70%, and Otieno, believe me or not, I think Sulaiman, you are watching from home. You must have heard what I said. It's exactly that. The voter turnout was not even near 60%. It was about 57 something percent of the voter turnout nationally, and it was worse in the region where Ruto was expecting a big boost of votes. There was voter apathy in Mount Kenya, the entire Mount Kenya. People stayed at home. And one of the reasons I gave this morning came out true. You can't go inside the kingdom of the king and you start insulting people. So there you are. It is too close, but you know why it is too close? Because Otieno will tell you quietly there. Some of the results of Ruto that are coming, they are releasing Ruto's main constituencies. Main area, backup area, they are finishing most of those from Eldoret, from Nandi, areas of stronghold where Ruto, Baringo, and you can see Raila has done very well in Masailand, which was not expected. The Masailand is giving Raila Odinga very good results. So we have not come to the real heartland of
yes, certainly, David, we haven't come to the real heartland in the country. But again, let's talk about some other key issues. I'll come back to you, David. Let me come back to Vincent. Vincent, I'm looking at it. It's been going back and forth. And looking at the young population in Kenya, a whole lot of them, there's voter apathy, just as we've experienced in some, staggered elections in Nigeria. What is this thing about the young people on the continent not getting excited about elections these days?
Well, I may agree with what Dr. Matsanga said in the morning, that maybe with the noise that we see from the youth, maybe it's just from in the social media. Because if you look at Twitter, they are the people who they talk a lot. But now the reality we have here. But then we will have to look at the statistics of the people who came out really after, at the end of the day. Maybe they came out. Yeah, I can give them the benefit of that as at now, because we don't know the distribution rather of the in terms of age limit.
I can
David wants to jump in. Go ahead, David Matsanga. We can hear you.
I can give you the 12.145, 12 out of 22 million. and the middle-aged and the elderly consist of 8.34%. There you are.
So now you've already told us 12.1 out of the 22 million. You're giving some demographics there, talking about the young population in Kenya. That
the younger population in Kenya,
yes,
that voted out of the about 12 million voters total.
It's still not a good percentage and not a good number.
No, there was no good percentage at all. The youth actually consisted of about 3-point-something million.
But David, speak to us on what Vincent said. He said, if you go to social media, the youth are the ones talking, but the talk on social media hasn't reflected in what numbers we're seeing.
Ruto had more people registered party yellow members than registered voters. We talked about this with Vincent during the daytime. There are more, UDA has more membership card than membership voter, than a voter who has a voter card. And most of the youth could wear 2 uniforms. They would wear yellow for money, and then black inside. They support Raila Odinga. And most of the youth in Mount Kenya today did not turn up. Either some of them are still waking up now, having drunk some busa or some liquor. They are waking up to say as the voting ended. It is the normal tactic, is the normal thing that happens to every African country.
Well, it's not a good commentary, and I'll come back because you have also witnessed elections in other countries, specifically in Nigeria. We'll come back to look at the reasons why young Africans are not too excited when it comes to D-Day. Vincent, you're a young Kenyan, young African. Looking at this figure isn't a good one. And one would have thought that in all of these candidates, we have a very young candidate in Deputy President Ruto. Speak to us about the Mount Kenya as a deciding factor in this particular election, especially for non-Kenyans.
Yeah, thank you. It's funny enough that the results that I'm seeing before I came in here, the way the results are coming, we expected that Ruto was going to have a upper hand because he has been enjoying the support of this region for the last 10 years, considering that is the one that helped Uhuru to get into power. They worked together for the last 10 years, of course, before the fallout that he had post-handshake. But if you look at it, the Raila side, they rejected, they proposed that they were looking at their projection, they was targeting about 30% of the votes from that region. But if you look at it, the way things are coming, I think they're going to hit their target. Yeah, they're going to hit their target because if you look at with the current turnout, in the entire Mount Kenya region, I've not seen votes that have, for the votes that have been submitted, I've not seen anywhere that we have even 70% turnout. Mostly is about 50, 60, between 50 to 60, between 50 to 60.
And the results have been so close.
Yeah, it's like for...
Now, I'll come to you, David. I'll come to you. Let me be done with Vincent on this because the results are so close. Sometimes the differentials are not up to 50 or not up to 20. So speak to us, Vincent, more on this.
Yeah, so as I was saying that I think the Uhuru impact, the Uhuru effect, we are seeing it here. For the first time, we are having a Raila votes in the Mount Kenya region. As if you compare the results that he had in 2013, 2017, and now, is so encouraging that yes, we can feel that there is an effect that the support that he received from the incumbent president, we can, even as much as some people underrated the impact that the president will play, I think we can see it vividly as at now.
Now, David, I'm looking at the 2013 election results where the incumbent, the outgoing president, Uhuru Kenyatta, got about 50.3%. And of course, Raila Odinga got 43.51%. Now, listening to Vincent, he's saying that, well, at the moment, it doesn't look like it's working in that direction. One would have thought that being a first-time contest for Ruto to becoming president and Odinga, who is a Luo man, are these going to count in anyone's favor? Talking about these two leading candidates.
Let me tell you what happened. Mr. Ruto has been campaigning for 4 years. But the mistake he made, and which he has made, he started insulting Uhuru Kenyatta publicly in political rallies. That's one factor. Everywhere, in all the big tribes in Africa, even if their person is a fish, you don't go there and insult the Kabaka of Buganda, where I come from, and call the Kabaka, you have long nose or short nose, or you are this, or you are that, or you are that. You will not get a vote in Buganda. That's why you see President Museveni gets all the votes every day, because he praises the Kabaka, and some Baganda come out to give him votes. But the moment you insult them, they will return back to their child. And Sulaiman, I told you the other day that when Jesus was being killed by Herod, by Pontius Pilate, washed his hands and they started nailing Jesus. The people of Nazareth said, "Give us our son." Give us our body. You are Otieno, you a Bible reader, I believe. Give us our body. We are fed up. Okay, we don't want to hear you, the Romans. Give us our body and we bury our son. That politics has worked on Ruto. Ruto started a big campaign towards the end of his campaign. Uhuru Kenyatta had kept quiet. But Uhuru Kenyatta now, the strategies of Uhuru Kenyatta, including some of us here, said, time has come for you to explain to the people of Kenya.
What about those, David, what about those who still think that this is a fight of an underdog, looking at what Ruto has done before now, and also looking at these other two, the outgoing president and, of course, the major one of the major contenders, Raila Odinga, both of them, their fathers once ruled Kenya. But this is a man, Ruto is a man who's coming from the trenches, so to speak, to upset
Ruto has never come from trenches. Suleiman, you people in Nigeria, you are being misled.
It's not about collectively speaking about people in Nigeria. I'm asking you a question that some people are thinking that this is it. So it's left for you to now, a minute, Dr. David. So it's now left for you to give me the answers to that so that people outside Nigeria and in Nigeria can get better schooled. So you can say people in Nigeria, that's quite a bogus one.
I was assuming bad English, and I'm sorry. People all over the whole world assume that Ruto came from an underdog point of view. No. Ruto has been in power when Raila Odinga was in jail. From 1992, Ruto has been in parliament. Ruto has been in power, in money with Moi. He was a leader of the dreaded YK 92, making money to some extent that they made money notes. They were called YK 92 notes in their names. Ruto has not been an underdog. He has been through all these regimes. You remember Kibaki gave him a ministry. You can't call that person an underdog. But what he did, which you were running to, which is very clear, which I want to explain and tell our viewers, is he used the narrative of hustler versus dynasty. That Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga came from the privileged class. That narrative was abandoned because People, the border people started reaching people with a car.
Let's get clarity here quickly. The border, are these the bikes, the Okada riders, the motorbikes?
Okada riders. Otieno is running something there. I'm not there. Okada riders started reaching people, setting fire on people, even beating women, because they say you are the privileged class. Immediately, Ruto turned around and said, no, now let's bring in economy, the bottom-up economy, which is not understood by many of these youth. They used something which is very symbolic, which was not even symbolic. When you say in the 21st century, you are giving somebody's child a wheelbarrow, when people are looking for iPads, laptops, computers, how will this child develop to have a wheelbarrow?
It looks like an aside, but again, I'll have to throw this in to you quickly if you can make sense of this. Is it an African thing? Because we've also seen the same in Nigeria, where people are being, in quote, empowered by giving them tricycles, motorbikes, and some of them wheelbarrows.
It is a sad story, yes. Africa, Sulaiman, between me and you don't want to hear what I have been saying to you. That if I ever grab something, some power somewhere, the first lessons that I want to give are lessons of elections. I don't like elections in Africa until Africans know how to elect. I've told you that before.
You have, and I'll come back so that you can explain yourself so that those who are listening for the first time can get a better understanding of why you say you're not for elections on the continent. Let me come to Vincent. Let me come to Otieno. I'll come back to you. Otieno, we've looked at this whole thing, and Matsanga has tried to make sense of what a lot of people would have thought, looking at the forebears of Kenyatta, Odinga, and a man who's not had a taste of, power at the top. Perhaps that's to put it in a better way. Now, let's look at the chances of some others who look at because we've seen some MPs who staged a walkout. Recall the MPs who were on the side of Ruto. So Ruto isn't a pushover, is he?
Well, Ota, I would like to agree with the Dr. Matsanga in one way, is that sincerely Ruto is not just a hustler. I think this was just a political strategy that he adopted in order to lure the public. And it worked so well for him because assigning the dynasty name to the Uhurus and the Kenyattas and the Moi's family, who are grouped together and form a coalition against him. So really, if you look at his political history, he's never been a hustler since his youth. When he started his political career, immediately after his university education, he joined the Youths for Moi, that is in 92, as Dr. say. After that, he came and they worked together. In 2002, they worked with Uhuru Kenyatta. After 2002, they worked again together and don't forget that he also served as a member a member of parliament for Eldoret North by that time. And after that, he came up under the coalition government. That is when they combined powers with Raila in the 2007, that led to a post-election violence. After that, they came together with, so he has never been in a political cult. He's always in government in one way or another. So designing such kind of names that some people are dynasties and some people are hustlers is just a political strategy to lure the youth, that are the public. And
has that worked for him?
Perfectly. That one really worked for him because he has managed to, as Doctor said, that when this whole thing started, there was a lot that were happening. That if you're a dynasty, if you see somebody who is having a car and you are on a bike, people started stoning them. Yeah, and it raised many issues until the security had to be involved. So he had to go back a little, and the issue was I think his strategy, or rather whatever he wanted to achieve, he managed it in some way.
Also, let's quickly go to Mombasa. I understand, apologies for that intrusion there. Let's quickly go to Mombasa where Kevin Mutai is standing. Kevin, good to see you. Thanks for your time. It's 2 hours away ahead of Nigeria at the moment in Kenya. You are in Mombasa. That's a place where elections were placed on hold overnight, talking about the governorship elections. Speak to us. What's the feel like at the moment in Mombasa, Kenya?
Like my face shows.
Well, doesn't look like Kevin is set for us. So let's go to you, David. David, David, you were trying to come in, and I wanted you to expatiate more on why you did say, if you had a chance, you will be against, elections on the continent.
First of all, let me tell you, Sulaiman, the type of tension that we have here in every African country, wherever there is elections, is as a result of non-voter education. There is no voter education. We don't have enough ethics. We don't have enough morals. We don't have enough, being tolerant. We have not yet reached a level of tolerating until we go to school. Like the leaders in Mali, they have said they will educate people on what elections and democracy is for 5 years before they hand over power. I think that type of school on African continent is very important, because everywhere in Africa, elections trigger chaos in government, in corruption. Corruption takes the toll of the entire election. Every country in Africa where election has been conducted is still grumbling. Uganda held the election in 2021. They are still grumbling. Nigeria is preparing to hold the election in 2023. You will see the tremors that are taking shape there. Zimbabwe, almost fist to fist. People want to finish each other. Every part of Africa where there are elections. So Somalia, you saw even the president wanted to have it and hide with it. Elections in Africa. We are not yet educated enough. Now that the Kenyan election is over, I want to speak frankly and freely and tell my Kenyan friends that if you want to hold another election in Kenya, change the mechanism, the electoral system, which is changed to post proportional representation. A proportional representation system will deliver a peaceful Kenya, because no party will complain. Everybody in Kenya will be represented like a South African model. You have never seen a problem in the South African election. The only problem and a field that South Africa has is stealing and killing people, armed robbery, but they don't fight during the elections. That's why you see Marema and the white supremacist UDA party is still holding some good seats in parliament against ANC, because they have developed a proportional representation system. And the Kenyans, Otieno, please, you are the younger political analyst on this continent of Africa. Let's advocate for proportional representation, such that every part of Kenya has got a say in the central politics of this country. This country here, as we speak, thanks God today, you can see even to some extent, a man pulled out a pistol where a place where Otieno comes from, that area of Homa Bay. He pulled out a pistol and shot. He wanted to kill people. That type is not the type that Dr. Matsanga would like to leave behind when God calls me. I want to live in Africa that understands, that is tolerant.
All right, good. Dr. David, we'll come back to you. Let me quickly take some first here before I go to Mombasa. For those who are just joining us, we're trying to look at the issues coming from the Kenya election, the presidential election that has just ended. And of course, the leading candidates, Deputy President William Ruto and Raila Odinga. For William Ruto, he's contesting to become president for the first time. And Odinga is a Luo man, no other ethnic group apart from Kikuyu, where Kenyatta is from, and Kalenji, where Ruto is from, has become president. So he may become the first from the rest. One of the campaign channels Kenyatta is using for him is that acceptance of diversity. Now, both presidential candidates have picked their deputies from Kikuyu. Rigathi Gachagua for Ruto is an ardent critic of Kenyatta. And of course, Gachagua has money, as some have said in Kenya, and he comes from Mount Kenya region. You've heard Matsanga and Otieno trying to make sense of what Mount Kenya means in this election, which controls 5 million of Kenyans, 22 million voters. So call it a cash cow. Where he comes from in Mount Kenya, Nyeri has 3.1 million of those 5 million voters. So his choice is premised on numbers. In the meantime, he used to be Kenyatta's supporter too. Recall in 2002, he supported him, but accused him of abandoning them when he became president. So, and of course, Odinga has picked Martha Karua. Who doesn't know Martha Karua? Perhaps you're out of Kenya. Who may become the first female vice presidential candidate in Kenya. Karua is a former Minister of Justice and is known for her fight against corruption. And she notably resigned as Minister of Justice in 2009. The gender rhetoric also has a big role there. Unlike Gachagua, whose corruption cases, she has the air of what you call of a clean politician. Time for me to jump into Mombasa, where Kevin Mutai is joining me. Kevin, thanks for your time. And Mombasa was jolted yesterday by the stoppage of voting. What's the situation at the moment now?
Well, I'm glad to join this broadcast from Mombasa, the county 001 from Kenya. And what we have from the ground is that the voting process has been stopped across all the 1,041 polling stations spread across the 6 constituencies here from the port city of Mombasa. And what is happening right now is just tallying of the votes at the constituency level. These are the votes that will be collected from the 30 sub-counties, and thereafter they will be availed at the county tallying center, which is happening at the Kenya School of Government. Right now, I am in Mvita constituency, and the tallying center for this particular constituency is happening at Alidina Visram High School. And in this particular instance, the voting exercise that began at 5 a.m. this morning, what we have witnessed across some of the polling stations is that there's a low voter turnout, and this is as a result of various issues. One of them, some of the voters whom we spoke to, they expressed some sort of dissatisfaction after there was a delay in disbursement of the voting materials, and some of them had to wait in long queues for several hours, therefore even giving up and deciding to go back home and never came back. And of course also that also led to the delay in terms of setting up the infrastructure for the voting process. All that culminated into forcing the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission to extend 2 hours past the stipulated time, because the polling stations opened at 5 a.m. in the morning, closed at 5 p.m. But the IEBC said that whoever had managed to access the voting station before the stipulated time of 5 p.m., then he or she would be allowed to proceed and cast his or her ballot. But just only a few polling stations were treated specifically by adding 2 hours because of the technical hitches about disbursement and distribution of the ballot boxes. But of course, also one thing that we witnessed also, there was a little bit of chaos witnessed in some of the polling stations, even the police officers had to detain some of the candidates and locked them up in cells because of just causing some commotion inside the polling centers. But after the interventions of their political leaders, political parties, the two candidates, one from Vita constituency under the United Democratic Alliance Party and his counterpart who is vying for the Member of County Assembly at the Chuda. They were both released, and we are yet to get some of the details from the authorities. But what we know so far is that the police managed to contain the situation, and of course shortly after that we witnessed a very big confrontation later after the two political bigwigs. These are political elites that have been, running the political space, not only in Mombasa, but of course also the county of Nairobi. The former governor from Nairobi, that is Mike Sonko, clashed with the ODM leaders here in Mombasa, and some of them even had to engage in a fist fight, and police had to fire at least 3 rounds in the air in order to disperse some of the rowdy youth that are even come around, milled around the polling station. And but more deployment of security resources were effected immediately, and the situation calmed, and voters went on to exercise their democratic right. So as at now, the situation is calm. There's counting of votes going on, and perhaps we are expecting this particular exercise to take probably more than even 7-8 hours, because what they're handling is just only for the for 5 positions. That is the presidential ballots, then the Senate, that of the senator, the National Assembly representative, the woman representative, and then the member of county assembly, because yesterday the IEBC, the electoral agency, suspended the election for the governor race. That is because of the mix-up that they witnessed in the ballot materials for the gubernatorial race. So it is just a wait and see to just understand exactly what will be happening. And I'm sure once we speak to the IEBC officials who are not yet here, where I am is that the county tallying center at the GTI, that is the Kenya School of Government, and we're expecting them probably to make their way from the next 2-3 hours after all the all the tallying of the votes from the constituency level is done. Then that is when they will all be brought here for the formal announcement, and of course also channeling the same to the headquarters in Nairobi, where the presidential tallying center has been mounted. That is will be happening. That is the center that will handle all the information regarding the 2022 general election in Nairobi. So we are here in Mombasa just keeping an eye on what will be unfolding, and I'm hoping that in just a few hours we'll be able to show you live pictures of how this particular exercise will be conducted by the IEBC officials who are stationed across all the constituency tallying centers in the county of Mombasa. Back to you in studio.
Well, Kevin, that's a basket full of information you've just passed out there. And of course, at the moment, we understand is 9:21 p.m. in Kenya at the moment. So it's already 9th time. And let us in on some of the key things. Has any of the key presidential candidates spoken so far? Because earlier we saw the candidate Wakachoya, saying that he's been pushed out of the way from casting his ballot at that point in time. What more can you tell us about the candidates in this election as we await more collation of these results across Kenya?
Well, the entire process has been managed well by the electoral agency, that is the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Agency, that is the electoral body here in Kenya. And I can say that across the country, voting ended not beyond 7 p.m. But again, what we have had is the reports that we've received from some parts of the country. They had even to delay because of some technical hitches here and there, and even there might also be some further suspension of voting, and that is in just not a big as big as a county, but these are just sub-counties. But we are yet to get confirmation from those who are in charge. But what we can tell the viewers is that the tallying process will take quite some time before Kenya gets to know who will be their next president. But as you said earlier, this is a two-horse race, despite several candidates just showing their interest in vying to succeed the current president, Uhuru Kenyatta. Uhuru Kenyatta is the current president, but he is supporting the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya presidential flag bearer and the party leader of the Orange Democratic Movement, that is Raila Odinga, whose running mate is Martha Karua. So these are two pair of individuals who I believe were connected in order to amass votes from the country, but it is something that of course also will be an uphill task, because they are also facing a formidable force which is made of the deputy president, the sitting deputy president William Ruto, who is the party leader of the United Democratic Alliance Party, and whose running mate also comes from Mount Kenya region. So when you look at the kind of matrix that the both sides used in terms of running for the presidency of this country, is that it was very key for both sides to consider having a running mate from the Mount Kenya region, which is currently believed to have a lot of votes, more than 5 million votes from that particular region. And of course, also worth noting is that Odinga and Odinga and Ruto both have their strongholds. Ruto enjoys a massive support in Rift Valley province, where it is believed, according to some political pundits and some data that just were released the other day by some research, shows that Ruto has over 80% of the support from the Rift Valley region. Same way to Raila. So these are somehow they're trying to set their support base based on their strongholds. So it was very crucial for them to have a running mate from Mount Kenya. But there's a critical concerns also coming from leaders. The lower voter turnout was not only witnessed in Mombasa, but across the region, Mount Kenya region being one of them. And it was and still is a concern that people are yet to come to terms to, because the voting time